In today's world, we only watch the endings, a flashy success story or the brutal collapse. But we don't hear about the full journey that it took to get there. The late nights, tough calls, moments of doubt. On In Between Sips, we dive deep into the raw, unfiltered stories of what these business owners and leaders have been through and who they became along the way. So pull up a chair, pour a cup, and join us. We're just getting started. Because we all know the best conversations happen in between sips. Dale, thanks for coming on the show.
Good to be here.
You know, I know we joked about it, but I wasn't serious when I said we had to match haircuts and beards for you to be on the show.
Yeah, I just did this last week, so this is a new thing for me, and I keep feeling for my hair, but you know what? It is liberating.
It's very liberating, right? People don't understand unless you do it, but what was that first moment like when you looked in the mirror after you did the shave?
I looked in the mirror and said, "Dad, is that you?" And my dad has passed. So in his memory, I'm turning into my dad. And yeah, I'm not ready for that yet.
Well,
so
you sport it well.
Yeah, I know. I just I think I'll shave it off.
There you go. Just in time for the show so we can match.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, I know our history spans back, a while now. We'll just call it that.
Yeah.
It's been a joy and a pleasure. You know, I've known you as Rotarian Sergeant at Arms.
It's fun. That's been fun.
Yeah. GM of the arena, of course. So many good things you did for that arena down there, and so much more. But I guess the first question is always like, when you're looking back on it, what caused you to want to go into the entertainment field? Like, was there a moment you're like, man, entertainment, that's for me? Well, I know you're a funny guy, but
I don't know about that. But you know what's funny? Because you look at it, you kind of go, I came from a small town, and my graduating class of high school was like 57 people.
What town was that?
It was a town of all things, called Belchertown, which everyone made fun of because the original name was Crystal Springs. And somehow there was a Governor Belcher, and they made it Belchertown, so everyone made jokes about Belchertown. And
it was I've never even.
It was in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And it had this school for the mentally and physically handicapped for everyone from 0 to 90. My mother worked there as a nurse, so that was kind of the main thing. And this little school, and you're like, you're there, and you followed sport. I was always into sport, so I love sport. I love baseball, and of course the Red Sox in that case.
Oh yeah.
And you grow up, you're like, I need, this is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
So, again, I, got into school. I'm like, all right, first of all, let's do something where you can make a lot of money.
You were always the life of the party in school, so getting entertainment?
No, I was the quiet jock guy. And so I'm like, let's do something we make money. Let's get into engineering. And I remember I was in engineering, and they started for breaks. They were doing calculus and physics problems for fun. And I looked at it and I'm like, nah, that's not happening.
That's not fun for me.
And then I got into phys ed, and I'm like, I'm not walking around with a bunch of gym shorts on all day. I can't do that. No offense to everybody who does. Both of those. And then there was this new program called sport management. So I got into that, and I'm like, that's cool. Got through it, and I was like, I want to work for the Red Sox, or maybe the Bruins, or again,
that's
Boston,
like the pinnacle of all baseball sports is just Red Sox. I mean,
or
the
Yankee,
feel of
because
it.
half my family's Yankees, half's Red Sox fans.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I go to my advisor. I'm like, hey, I'd love to work for a team. And they're like, the line's like down the street. You're never going to get in, but you get in this other thing called venues, and all the teams playing venues. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So I was supposed to do an internship in Hartford, the Hartford Civic Center.
Yeah.
And it was like 60 miles south of us. I'm like, that's great. And about 4 months before I was supposed to do it, the roof collapsed under snow.
No.
So I'm like, oh crap, where do I go?
That's just hard for me to imagine, like born and raised here.
Yeah, like those issues up north. Yeah. And then, but I had an uncle lived in Florida. I'm like, oh, let me try Florida. So I called all the venues all around Florida and finally found one in Lakeland, Florida, of all places. I called them, and they're like,
you're like naming all the towns I never heard of, like Belcher, Lakeland.
Yeah, Lakeland. And they said, yeah, we'll have you come down here, but I can't pay anything. I'm like, okay, fine. So I went down there, and I worked in each department. I ended up working one of the the things, it was, I remember it was Kiss came back, and, I'm an intern down there, right? So they said, okay, you're going to be like the stagehand on the stage that helps them out. I'm like, all right, never done this before. They're like, no, that's okay.
For Kiss.
For Kiss.
First concert.
It wasn't a concert. It was, they did like a rehearsal.
Oh, okay.
So they had to practice.
Yeah.
And I think every day for a while there, it was, I can't remember if it was Gene Simmons or one of them. They were supposed to end the concert by smashing the guitar on the stage. Yeah. Well, he kept smashing, missing the cross beams. So it put a hole in the floor, and I was the guy who patched the hole. That was my other one.
No way.
Yeah, internships are funny because that makes you do everything, right? You work concessions, you work this and that and all that. I remember being at, God, what was it? Peebo Bryson. Mm-hmm. Peebo Bryson concert. Like, you're working barricade. I'm like, okay, that's in front of the stage. Make sure nobody jumps on stage, that kind of thing. He comes on, and I see a hail of bras coming over my head. I'm like, what in the hell is this? I've never seen it. The country boy. I'm like, all the bras go flying to this dude. And that was so funny. That was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
So I did my internship, left, and then... that
didn't sound like the internship I did growing up. Jeez.
And they hired me, and that's how I started. They hired me, I had to hurry up and get through it, got through the classes, and hired me on there, and that's where I started.
Wow. With the same company that Desert Diamond?
Well, it was with the city. That was with the city. Okay. The city of Lakeland. Mm-hmm. And worked for them, worked my way up to acting GM. Mm-hmm. And the same week almost that they offered me the final job, you could be the GM, all of a sudden the Disney on Ice was there. Disney on Ice would come in every summer that I was there, and for 2.5 months rehearse their new show that they come on the road with. So they came to me that same week and said, hey, we need a general manager for an ice show. We'd love to have you as a GM on the ice show. I'm like, I don't know anything about ice shows.
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't need to know anything. You've seen our shows every year that we're in here for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So I knew the guys and everything. I'm like, and I think this is the big thing about what people go through. It's like, I never want to say, geez, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
So I did. And even though I was working my way up to be that GM position, it was like, nope, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So I take the job. I go on the road with them. So I'm like an assistant GM for a matter of months till they make me the actual GM because of a little training thing. So we start this new tour with the VP of shows. And I'm working it. We get all the way around. The first year tours on the East Coast. Yeah. And we got all the way around, I think, Baltimore. And he comes in one day and says, okay, you got your own show now. You're going to have to move out.
Wow.
And go to I'm like, great. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'd love to see California. I've never been to West Coast.
Yeah.
Out here anywhere.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. He says, great. You're going to Japan. I'm like, what?
No way.
Where's your passport? I'm like, I don't have one. Like, you better get one.
Yeah.
So
Same
I remember,
Disney on Ice show or
it
different
was a different show. It was a different show.
Wow.
And not only was it in Japan, it was 60 miles northwest. Mm-hmm. It was Kumagaya Prefecture, and it was a tent. And as far as I know, they never played a tent before. So they're like, okay, go down. You're going to meet these people here. Yeah. You're going to help load the plane. I'm like, load the plane? I never loaded the plane. I'm like, well, you don't have to do much. Just hang out. And it was a 747. I was the only one on the plane other than the pilots. They flew from Atlanta to, I think, Anchorage to Tokyo. Yeah. And there's no service. There's nobody on there but me. So that was kind of boring. But I'm thinking, all right, I get off. What do you do? And, ended up getting out there. They put up the tent. Tent was built. It was a promoter. So a promoter buys the show from us. They had this big deal where they bought the circus and the ice show. And we get out there and we started, eventually everyone comes out. Opening day, rain, just torrid rain the day before. Pours down in all the electrical equipment that night. So we're sitting there and all
I flew halfway around the world for this.
All the guys are there like with blow dryers and fans trying to, hopefully it works tomorrow kind of thing, checking it, it was
just gone.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And then but it worked. We made it
gosh.
through. And that was the beginning of my touring side of it.
That was the beginning of the legend that became Dio
right.
in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, that's where we started. And then, we went from, Japan, went to South America.
Yeah.
Then Europe, back South America to South Asia. And then it came back to the other tour. So a lot of interesting things happen. I mean, listen, when you're on the tour, we're touring with probably a total of, 12 containers, and again.
How big is a container? What do you mean a container?
It's like a 40-foot truck.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
you had 12 of those?
Yeah, we had about 12 of those. Some
you said it was like a circus show?
Shows. It was ice show, Disney on Ice.
It was okay.
Yeah, so you had to bring your own ice floor in most cases. Wow. And the guys set it up. We had great guys knew how to do that.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, you'd end up in some places. I remember it was, we played Buenos Aires, Argentina. And we're there, and they said, okay, we're going to Bogota. Now, they're basically from anywhere around there, like, hey, you can't put it on a truck.
Yeah. Because
you put it on a truck, either the cartel's going to get it or the guerrilla's going to get it and kill the guy in the truck. So we got to fly it. And I'm like, okay, you can fly and do whatever you want. So they hired
None of that fazed you, though? Coming from Disney on Ice, Florida, and now you're dealing with the cartel.
Well, there's another story there, too. So they're like, okay, we got planes, and it was 2 DC-8s.
Yeah.
And one was leaking oil. It was the first one that landed. It was leaking oil. They're like, all right, we fixed it. Good. So they're like, okay, load the plane. I'm like, I don't load planes. What are you talking about? Just make sure it's all tied up really tight. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What? So I got the guys together. We all load the one plane, took off. That left with some of the crew, some of the cast.
Yeah.
And then the next plane lands, fill that up, get that. They leave. The first plane comes back.
Yeah.
Now, the only people left are me and the concessions guy, our concessions guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, load the plane. So we were doing what we can to load the plane up with all our stuff. And, it's leaking oil. You got to wait. So we waited like 5 hours. Kept waiting and waiting. Yeah, it was.
Thing must have been pouring oil. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I kind of think it was.
Yeah.
And finally, like, all right, it's good to go. We can fly. All right. So now the plane, you get in it, and it had an extra seat in the cockpit.
Yeah.
And then it had like a bench behind it, and then a wall where everything was behind the wall. And so I flipped a coin with my concessions guy who gets and I lost.
Yeah. Oh.
So he's sitting in the cockpit, and it's like an 8-hour flight.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the bench. So plane takes off. We're going up, and I wake up. I guess we're almost there. I didn't know what we were doing. So I'm on the bench, wake up. I look in the cockpit, and these guys are focused, and they're sweating. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And I look, and it looks like, if you put your fingers out, it's like, oh, it's kind of like looks like the runways down there. And just as I said it, I'm standing up, boom. I'm like, we must have hit a plane under it. We hit something. I went flying back on the bench, and I stand up again, and the concession guy turns around. He goes, Dale, this thing drops like a rock, doesn't it? I'm like, what? We're on the ground? It was way down there.
They just dropped.
So we go down, we turn around, come back, and we meet this guy, Jose, who is our local rep. And the plane stops, get off and everything, and we get down there, and he says, hey, how you guys doing? And we're like, yeah, it was kind of weird. We like dropped out of the sky, and
yeah,
he's like, oh, you guys didn't know you were on emergency landing? And
what?
And the concession guy, he turns around and he goes, you know what? I saw these fire trucks going down the highway. I didn't think they were for us.
And they were.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, I think it's
the pilot didn't tell you.
I'm glad I didn't know. No, they were all sweating, man. Because I looked at them like, it wasn't like, hey, we're good. It's like, they're like focused, and they're like.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was about to ask you, was there any part of this that you look back on, you go, man, what was I doing? But I guess was like, emergency landing. Out of
control. Yeah, if we would have died there, it'd have been what it was.
Wow.
But that was interesting.
Yeah. So you're traveling the world, like you're learning all the ropes, right? You're the ins, the outs, what to do, what not to do. But now you're in like 5, 7 different countries.
Well, the first 11 months, we were in countries that spoke 11 different languages.
Wow.
So you learn a little bit about each one,
Yeah.
please, thank you. And, just what you realize in the end is everyone is there trying to make their living or survive.
Yep.
Everyone in every country, I don't care, poor or rich, whatever, they're just doing their thing to survive. And you're trying to work with them and, and you have competition as any business does, and you're trying to work around that too. And it, just the things that pop up, I remember going to the airport with all the stuff and like, we need to load this on or we're not going to make it. And they're like, sorry, the airport's closed. What do you mean it's closed? It opens tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. The flight's like at 8. We need to load planes by then. They're like, sorry, you can't get in.
Wow. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then, there's good, really cool stuff. I mean, we were in Bangkok and I remember we played this arena and it was open to the air. So I had no air conditioning. And it was like 90, it had to be over 95, but I put a thermometer by the one office we had there and it never got below 95.
Wow.
And we ran our own concessions.
Yeah.
And in order to keep the skaters kind of hydrated and cool, I was feeding them our concessions ices.
No
Just
way.
trying to keep,
And you're like, hey, 95 is nothing. I need to up the ante and go to Arizona. Right?
yeah, that's right. It's not warm. No humidity here. It's no humidity. I like it.
Yeah. Thank you. I say it's a dry heat, but people look at me like, oh, you're a native. You know what I'm talking about. It's like, no, I've been to Florida. I cannot survive over there. Like that humidity alone was nuts. The Texas Gulf area.
Yeah, well, that's where I kind of got in the business there. I got used to it till I came here. I'm like, now I go to Florida somewhere. I'm like, I just step out of the car or plane. I'm sweating like,
oh my
wouldn't
gosh.
believe. But yeah, Bangkok was interesting because then we had someone stole all the money.
No way.
That we had. So then how do you pay the people? So then we're hoping the concession guys had enough money to pay the skaters to keep them there. And eventually found the guy and got the money back.
What do you mean he took the money? Just like from the ticket sales? Like just robbed the ticket sale area?
Yeah, he was working for the company and just decided that he was going to use it for something else. But eventually he showed back up with all the money. I'm like, no,
At any point going through school, did you ever think you would be?
No. Again, I didn't, it's like, you think about it. It's like when you go through, you got to take a language. You're like, take a language. I mean, Arizona, it makes sense. Take Spanish. A lot of people with the Latin influence and everything. But you're in Massachusetts. I'm like, I took French and I think I flunked out. I'm like, why am I even taking French? I didn't even want to.
Yeah.
It's like French. I'll never go anywhere. Well, that was a mistake.
There you go. Yeah. Man. So you're traveling the world. What was that defining moment where you're like, this isn't for me? Or did you have a different opportunity? I mean, it sounds like you're not just learning the ropes, but like you had to go through some pretty gnarly situations, throughout the process.
Yeah, it's like everything else. I think you kind of get used to these things.
Get used to the crazy?
Yeah, you're waiting for something to happen. I remember, there's so many little things that you go through. It's along with drama. No matter where you go, there's always drama, right? Yeah. So we have drama in different places. And, you're in somewhere in South America or Asia, and it's like, okay, everyone needs to get on the plane and go, oh, by the way, the plane is charging everybody an extra $1,000 because their luggage is too heavy.
Wow.
And they're like, well, the company pays. And the company's like, no, we're not paying. You bring the stuff, you pay for it. And there was those kind of issues you're dealing with. You're balancing.
What was the hardest one you had to go through? Like, what was the situation where you're like, I don't know if we're getting out of here?
They're never, well.
It always starts with,
I could get in and out. I can get in and out. I mean, we had, and this was probably only happened a couple of times, but in countries not to be named, like sometimes our guys, because with all the issues you have with people trying to abscond with whatever money made along with taxes, some of our guys, they'd pack it up in a suitcase and they'd basically drive out of the country to 2 or 3 countries further up and fly out of there. They'd walk the money out, basically.
Oh my gosh.
Because, otherwise taxes and then paying this guy off, that guy, next thing you know, you didn't make any money.
Oh my gosh.
So little stuff like that.
Jeez.
You know, it's kind of adapting to what you have. We played tennis courts in Helsinki, Finland. It's like a tennis court. And it's funny. There you get up, you know, I got up, I remember you're up late, right? So you get up like at 9 and the sun's coming up at 10.
Yeah.
You get to work and the sun's going down at 2.
Weird.
It's just a different.
That's a whole different lifestyle.
Yeah, it's different. And we were on a little tennis court. And
yeah.
We played that. That was interesting.
I got to know though. I'm like love food and like the craft of it and all that, you know, whiskey and drinks and all that, just because I like the craft of it. What was the weirdest thing you had to eat? I got to know. All the travels you went through, you're like.
Well, probably the worst thing was a buddy of mine was another ice show manager.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you got to eat this. And we were in Japan. And it's probably not the worst thing because I know people eat it, but it was like sea urchin, uni or whatever.
Yeah.
And he ate it. I'm like, that's just disgusting. Because you got to try it once. So I ate it once. I didn't eat it anymore. I'm like, that's just gross.
That's funny.
Can't eat that. And I'll eat oysters. I have no problem eating oysters.
Yeah.
But,
you drew the line there at the urchin.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. I remember we were in, where the heck were we? We're in Manila. We played where Muhammad Ali, fought Joe Frazier in the Throne, Manila.
Oh, that's
Arnetta
cool.
Stadium.
Yeah, that's
Mr. Arnetta owned the conventions or the mall next to it.
Yeah.
And we played this little arena. I mean, you got like barbed wire between sections, and you had a fire station right behind it, which was okay.
Yeah.
But we loaded in and did what you did. I remember towards the end of the run, I'm like, man, I just need some like normal food.
Yeah.
So I was in the hotel. I'm like, give me spaghetti meatballs, something like that. Just give me spaghetti.
Yeah.
And I ate it, and I'm like, okay, that was good. It was finally good to feel a little something from home. and then the next day I'm there, and I'm at the arena, and I heard the barking. These dogs are always barking, and they're bark, rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, why are these dogs always barking? I asked the local guy. He's like, oh, well, they're always barking, and then that's they'll go ahead and kill a few for meat, and that's. And that's how they get their meat because there's not a lot of cows there.
And you're retracing
and I'm
like
thinking about the night before. I'm like, I was eating spaghetti and meatball. Was that dog meatballs or?
Oh,
yeah, that was.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, never know. Don't want to know.
You don't want to know. We can ask. I mean, we could do some research if you want.
Yeah,
follow-up episode.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
That's funny.
But yeah, there's always those kind of weird things that you end up whether you're eating or not, or you go to Puerto Rico, and it was morcilla when I was in Puerto Rico, and I'm like, well, what's that? Oh, it's blood sausage. That just sounds gross.
Yeah. And
then I had it. If it's mushy, it's like it's too much blood sausage. If it's really dry, I'm like, it's okay. Little spices in there, you're all right with it. But
I had no idea you're such a cultured man, though. Like we met in Glendale, Arizona, and this whole backstory. Like, geez.
When I grew up, I mean, my mom, it was just very, never put spices in everything. It was generic food. And you go out these places, you learn, it isn't, I'm not that experimental kind of guy. I want to try. But when it comes up, I'll try it once, see if it's all right.
Oh my gosh.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Sorry for the tangent. I was just curious. So you're traveling, and what brings you back to the States? I mean, again, I met you here in Glendale. Walk me through getting there.
Yeah, well,
you had to go through
basically,
to get here.
I met my wife. My wife interviewed for a job on the new ice show, what ended up being my last tour. And I was like, well, if I hire her, I can't date her. So I didn't hire her, and I asked her out. And we kind of dated a little bit for about 4 months. And she got pregnant, and we said, all right, let's do this. And I got off the road. That's why I got off the road.
No way.
So I got off the road and worked for the same guy who initially I did my internship for, but then he owned his own management company out of Houston and moved there. And, in Houston, I was helping out. I did some work in Europe, and I, helped them run a few buildings or advise on a few things, and then ran the building, the Pontchartrain Center outside of Kenner, Louisiana, which is where the airport is for New Orleans. Ran that, and then I had a job proposal for Manchester, England. After that, we kind of went through that, and they're like, "Oh, you're the guy, you're the guy." And then they moved someone internally over there, but they moved him out of the Mullins Center at UMass, where I went to UMass. I'm like, "Hey, give me a job there."
There you go.
So
We just kind of skate over it. You didn't hire your wife just so you could take.
yeah,
So that's just still
yeah. I'm
best
no
decision
fool.
ever, right? Yeah.
I'm no fool. I'm no fool.
She didn't hold it against you.
No.
No.
I think she's relatively happy with the job I did. 34 years now. So
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats.
yeah,
That's awesome.
But yeah, so it's amazing how these things go. I ended up at UMass, which was close to the family at the time. We had younger kids.
Yeah.
So I was there for about 4 years, and then Feld came back, and they're like, "Hey, we'd love you to oversee our North American shows."
Yeah.
Talking to all the buildings, which I knew a lot of building people, talking to them and making the deals. And, I did that for like 6 years. And
Were you back there at the time when there was the New Jersey Trashers? It was there was a minor league hockey team. I'm fascinated by it. It's like such a funny story.
Trashers.
Yeah, they were called the Trashers, and they were in, I think it was New Jersey. You might have to fact check me. But you were back there probably at a similar time in Massachusetts. I know it's not the same state, of course, but close enough. But they like made national news. They were like the bad boys of minor league hockey. It's a great documentary to watch.
I don't recall.
But I didn't know in
that.
the industry, like in the venue management space, if you ever came across things like that.
No, well, you kind of see those. It's a lot of them are hit and miss, right? They don't always work, or they work for a short time, whether it's a show or not a show.
What was the weirdest show that was a total miss that you look back on? You're like, I don't even know how this got approved.
Well, it's funny you say that, because it's hard to get, whether it's an entertainment company or a venue management company.
Yeah.
They're all afraid of risk.
Yeah.
Because it is a risky business.
Yeah.
And they don't always, the people running these entities don't always understand the intricacies of the business.
Yeah.
So they're very risk adverse. They don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to say, well, no, more times than not.
Yeah.
But a few of them, part of my job years later, working with AEG, my job is event development.
Yeah.
So I had to go find shows.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget one of them was the Duck Dynasty when someone wanted to take it on tour.
Yeah.
So I went out and I saw the show. They had a show in Vegas, and I saw the show, talked to a few of the people, and I had to do an analysis on it. Came back, I'm like, ain't no way this is going to make money.
Oh, really? You said no, the Duck Dynasty crew?
Yeah. Everyone kind of understood it.
Yeah.
It was, it's kind of a niche market. And any of those niches, you got to find the niche, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
it's a good TV show, but does it actually work in a venue, right? Good for
exactly.
TV. Yeah.
It's like World's Toughest Cowboy. We were working with them.
Oh, what?
World's Toughest Cowboy. This is years ago. And they said, hey, we want to get this syndicated on TV. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But we need a 4 rating.
What was it though? When you mean World's Toughest? Was it like a competition?
It was like a rodeo and bull riding, whatever.
Okay.
So it was cool, good show. And it toured, did decent business.
Yeah.
And this was before PBR and all that.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we just got to get a 4 rating, which probably means like 4 million people watching it per episode. And so we're making the deal, trying to make it work. Where are we going to take it on tour? How are we going to, and I think it only ended up like a 2.5. So again, that niche market is something when you're coming up with, you may like it, but maybe no one else does. Yeah. Or everyone in your area likes something, but not everyone in every area. It's like, whether you're doing wrestling, if you just did generic wrestling, we've talked to them before, and they're like, great athletes. These are great, unbelievable. But there's only so many markets that really support wrestling. Think about it. If you got an arena, you could do a small arena, maybe 5,000 to 8,000 seats. If you can fill that for 1 day or 5 days or whatever it is, then maybe you got something there. Or do 50% of the business. Yeah. But remember, you got low ticket prices. Concerts, you got high ticket prices, and what sells out makes huge money. Yeah. But a lot of shows, if you have a low ticket price, and you're doing, 1,500 people a show, and you're there for 4 days, is that going to pay the bills? Because remember, you got trucking, you got staff, you have some type of amortization of the build of the show. Yeah. And it depends how much it was. I remember they did a Batman show, and they've done several Spider-Man touring shows. They don't work. Yeah. Because now it's a stunt show. Yeah. It's not you can't, it's not Batman you saw on TV.
Yeah.
It's kind of a stunt show. It's not what you think it might be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they get excited about it because, hey, look, it got great ratings or the movie did well. Yeah, but that's a movie.
Yeah, it won't translate. Over.
It's a guy in tights.
Yeah.
And a stunt show. That's it. So it's kind of,
yeah,
it's interesting the way that works, but it's, you got to dig into it because people get excited about the first thing. If they like something, oh, this is like a sandwich.
Yeah.
This is a great sandwich. Oh, what was it? It was in New Jersey. It was Jimmy Buff's. It's like, you got to have a Jimmy Buff. It's the best sandwich. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that. And it was like this huge bun with like fries in it. And it had a ton of stuff in it. I mean, you could probably eat a quarter of it. But it was so carb loaded. I'm like, that's not my favorite.
Yeah.
Didn't hate it, but it was like, okay, that's like 2 meals with all the carbs you need for like 10 weeks.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, man. Yeah.
Everywhere has those kind of different things that you go through. And
when, I mean, all those shows, they're not impervious to the cycles of the market, right? So, I mean, I think we're seeing a back upswing, if you will, like recently for shows. But I mean, there was a time where, I mean, you were the GM of the arena here in Glendale during COVID, right?
COVID was challenging for everyone. Listen, people know the entertainment industry is recession proof and depression proof.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not COVID proof.
Really?
If you can't put people together and they can't come out, watch show, you don't have a show.
Yeah.
And that was the challenge. Now we just did whatever we could. And I feel bad because a lot of people took half salaries. A lot of people got laid off.
Yeah.
And that's all they did.
Yeah.
Some people didn't come back.
How long were you guys out for, like during that period here? And was it different per state?
Some states were a little bit more lenient. And again, some teams paid the people no matter what, tried to be, the good boss.
Yeah.
But it was probably a good solid year of trying to get through, people doing part-time jobs, doing anything they can.
Wow.
But that was the one scary thing about this business.
Mm-hmm.
You got to we're all about getting people together.
Yeah. I didn't know it was known as like a recession-proof and depression-proof industry. So that was a first for you. That was a first for everybody.
Yeah. Because, and again, entertainment, it's like people need to get away. They want to get away. You can save up enough money. You're going to one show a year, maybe 2 shows.
Yeah.
People don't go to every show.
Yeah.
But when you have this market is 4 million people.
Yeah.
I don't need 4 million people. I couldn't do enough shows.
Yeah.
But not everybody likes the same thing. So you try to find the shows that enough people like and get them in there. And there's some history behind that. And there's analysis. And listen, when I worked for Feld and Ringling Brothers and Disney, it's like the marketing guys had a great saying. It's like, when they ain't coming, you can't stop them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some days, and other days, like you do nothing and you're sold out. You're like, what'd we do? I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because like for us in the online world, like people are people. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, we can buy ad space and yes, we can rank organically. And yes, with the advent of AI, we can rank in all the different AI modules, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini. But the reality is like people are still people. So if they're not actually searching, like I get it that national and international endless supply, so to speak, online, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're a local business in a local market and weather could affect it or a holiday can affect it. We've had clients where, the day after Easter is like that whole week is shot, because people like are gathering with family or whatever the case is, right? They're on vacation. And it's funny that there's always going to be those trends, right? You're never impervious to them. If people aren't searching online, like that's something very real you have to take into account. Similar to like showing up for a show.
Well, that's exactly what when we were booking all the shows. So we had a big staff. We were always booking shows.
Yeah.
All over the country. So you had like 9 ice shows. You had 3 circuses. You had 2 theater shows, and you're booking them on tours. I mean, you got to go from point A to B.
Yep.
It has to be under like 350 miles or so. Otherwise, you're not going to make it in time. You got to set up the show. You got to play.
Yeah.
But a lot of it had to do with holidays. You're like, okay, if it's Easter, then is everyone coming or not coming?
Yeah.
There was some markets, and I want to say Moline was one. I may be wrong.
Yeah.
Moline was one that we did a Thanksgiving show every year, and that's the one place it would sell out.
Really?
It became a trend. Hey, it's Thanksgiving. Let's go to the circus.
Interesting.
And there's a couple other ones
so there's
that
more to it. There's a communal aspect of like this tradition.
if you can get it started, especially with the families at the right time, otherwise it's death.
Yeah.
You in other markets, you did anything near on Thanksgiving, you're not drawing anybody because they're not going to go there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that analysis,
You never
how do you
know what
figure
to expect,
out where
right?
we're going?
Yeah.
Who's going to eat, drink, feel, pay a ticket for whatever. It's trying to figure that out. It's kind of the fun part.
Yeah.
It's that analysis and just double checking yourself and what's the demand. Yeah, the movie did $300 million in sales, but is it going to be okay?
Yeah.
It's like How to Train Your Dragon. They brought that. They wanted to tour that. And it's like it did $300 million in sales, which is okay.
Yeah.
Just okay. It's fine. It's a family show. But then the guy who was working on it spent like $30 million to build it. I'm like, that's crazy. You'll never get your money back.
Wow.
And then because he spent so much building it and made the show so big, the average ticket price was probably like $60 to $80.
Wow.
So you're not going to bring a family for that.
Yeah, it's
you're
a
not
family
doing
show.
That. So
for
it lasted like
$60.
6 months and was done.
Ouch.
Yeah. But
No.
that's
what I'm fascinated with, though, is like you have the blueprint, you have the playbook, and then sometimes it just gets thrown out the window because of a trend or because of something you can't predict. That's when like I find myself in those moments of like, okay, backs up against the wall. What are you going to do? Like you could do all the analysis and the planning and this does or doesn't work, but then there's always that X factor.
Yeah, X factor. Well, and I think you do enough analysis of it.
Yeah.
If you're really doing the right analysis, right? Yeah, let's throw common sense as part of the analysis, right? I mean, who's going to come on Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Have they ever come out to anything on Thanksgiving? You look at Arizona here, right? So you got what? You got 5 arenas, you got 3 stadiums, you got several theaters, and everybody with a backyard is overpaying for some act to play it. So on top of that, you got the Grand Canyon, you have waste management, you got spring training. You have a lot of other factors that draw people's attention. So for an act that's on the border, like, well, how are we going to do it?
Yeah.
Is it the right time? Time of year, time of week, time of day? Is it the right genre? Where's the disposable income? Do they have it? Can it come out there consistently?
Well, the market up in Prescott's different than the market down here in the Valley, different than the market in Tucson.
And people, listen, the more people you got, that's why bigger cities typically are going to get more because, 1% of New York's attendance is much better opportunity to draw people in than 1% of Peoria.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Just more people, right? More people if you get the right attitudes. If I know we're looking at certain of the K-pop Korean shows, did great on the East Coast or West Coast, right? Because you have a higher Korean population. You got to find those populations.
That's interesting.
It's like the Latin markets. The Latin markets were always different because the East Coast Latin markets, a lot of Caribbean. And then the West Coast, you have a lot of Mexican influence. But then you crisscross them. There's only a few that will still do the business. Yeah. It's like, I don't know these guys, or I don't want to know them, or they're,
That's fascinating.
It's when I was in Puerto Rico, and actually when I toured also, you found out it's kind of like states, right? It's like the Yankees and Red Sox. It's like, Puerto Rico, like, those Cubans don't know what to talk. Cubans like, Puerto Ricans don't know what to talk about. The Colombians don't like the Venezuelans. Venezuelans don't like the Argentinians. They don't, everyone has their team. Yeah. And that's the way, that communal approach to the way people think about that. It's really interesting when you're trying to actually do business in all those different markets.
And then everybody shows up for Snoop Dogg, right? Like that's still the.
You like the Snoop Dogg thing?
I do. It's the funniest thing I ever heard is when we were going over like, hey, like protocols and what do you do if you're security? And then like sometimes you just can't plan for it. When you said like you're looking down in the stadium and the main act is blazing up and like how do you control that, right? It's like you prep and you plan, you do all these things, but
and you hope that a lot of people can wait till they're done. But, right. And it's been that way forever. I mean, it isn't just Snoop Dogg. I mean, years ago, I remember in the 80s, people, you have the concerts, and that was once the lights go out, people do what they do. And there's been lots of different throwing people out if you're caught smoking or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, at one point in time, I can't remember where it was, we'd have someone come around with a magic marker and mark your area. If you're caught again doing it, then you go out.
Wow.
But it's so labor intensive. It's like, you know what? As long as people there remind them, hey, don't smoke, they'll put it up and light up again or whatever. But not everybody is smoking. They probably smoke less now. Now you got all the gummies that people can take. You never know it, right? Well, gummies, alcohol, it's all kind of the same thing.
It's all connected, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how, people adapt to everything.
Yeah.
And that's what we talk about, when you're traveling the world. It's if more people could travel the world, not just as a tourist, but travel and work with some of the people, you realize that everyone's just trying to do their own thing based on their own area.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're eating stuff in South Asia that I wouldn't even want to step on in my shoe. But that's the way they're lived. That's all. That's what they know. That's what they got. And everyone's trying to do the right thing for the most part, and which makes life interesting if you go to a different place and you notice that, hey, we're all kind of the same. It's just we have different circumstances to deal with.
How did you, just because, again, it's a local issue, but like, what was one of the more polarizing issues that you had to lead through at the stadium here?
Polarizing,
you just found yourself wrapped up in it trying to, okay, how do I lead my staff with service, servant leadership, integrity?
Yeah.
But it was a very polarizing issue. You probably had a couple while you were there at least, right?
Well, you know what? You try to get ahead of a lot of this stuff and you have good people. The key with any operation, just like we know with vendors, it's all about the manager. If you have a good manager, you're going to have a good team behind them typically. Yeah. And we had good managers with us, but probably the most challenging was always the Coyotes, right? We're managing the building for the Coyotes, the ownership groups, you pick. They never had that much money, so they never invested money in the team. So they weren't going out buying these high-priced players that were, we were, I worked for AEG Facilities, which is part of AEG for a time, and they own the Kings. Mm-hmm. And the Kings won the Stanley Cup, 2 out of 3 years. They probably lost, I don't know, $20, $30 million a year just doing that, but it ups the franchise value overall. You sell it, that's when you make your money.
It's a better
investment. Well, these guys never had the operating capital. They never put money into the venue, which we're always kind of trying to figure out with the city. The city was good about it, about, hey, we can fix this, we can fix that.
Yeah.
It was, what was it? There was a piece in the ice machine. I can't remember what it was offhand, but it was like the first exhibition game one year. And my operations guy, he called me. He says, you got to come out to the ice. 'Cause it was covered. We were doing a concert that night.
Oh, wow.
And we walked out there and we stepped on the cover. So you have a cover that covers the ice, keeps it cool. It's made for it. And he steps on it and water squirts out. And he says, I don't think we can save this ice. He says, because whatever went down overnight and the alarm didn't go off. So we canceled the preseason game the next day.
How many thousands of gallons or whatever it takes? It's got to be a massive undertaking. If you got to refill and freeze it, that's a pretty massive undertaking.
Yeah,
right?
You're about 19,000 square feet. You've got about an inch and a half, probably an inch and a half of ice.
Wow.
It's significant.
Yeah.
So it was the city that came in and bought the piece of equipment because the Coyotes won. So every day it was trying to work with the guys. And they had some good people working with them, but the ownership groups just didn't have the money.
That's
and
so
at the
fascinating
same
because
time,
you don't hear about that.
They kind of bash it. Oh, yeah, the arena's terrible. Oh, this or that. It's like we're going somewhere else. Like, this is the best arena right here for it. We're all set up for it.
Yeah.
Spend some money, get some talent in here. You're going to draw some people. Yes, ticket price is going to increase. You need them to increase. Their attendance was, probably the same as the Devils at the time when I opened Prudential Center, but the Devils' prices were 3 times more. So they were making that much more money.
Yeah.
And the Devils weren't spending money on a lot of new players either. Again, you get that kind of cheap look at, hey, just keep our expenses down. You can be an owner. And it's like, come on, guys.
Oh, now they're up in what, Utah now? Or something
Utah,
like
and
that?
they got a good ownership group up there, from what I understand.
That's good.
And yeah, they're spending the money, and they'll be competitive. And
Just such a bummer, like being born and raised here and seeing sports teams like the Diamondbacks was the only team that I experienced a championship with. So like that's the old adage of Arizona sports teams. They give you so much hope, and then it's next year.
that's why I always
There's never that. And so like the Coyotes, you think, okay, like playing in the desert, if you could market it well, if you could bring people here, they could be playing here instead of, freezing up north. And like that's what ASU's doing.
Hey, look at Florida.
Like ASU's crushing it
Look
right
at
now,
Florida.
right?
Florida
Yeah.
had a horrible team.
Yeah.
They had a horrible ownership group.
Yeah.
They had like 11 owners.
Who doesn't want to
It
go
was a
play in
mess.
Florida? Like you don't have to put up with all the cold weather,
you're
but you
in-
still get to play hockey. Like
You're in Sunrise. It's,
Yeah.
it's down there. That was another one of those horrible situations. And look what they've done. But, things changed around.
back to back, right?
Yeah.
Was it back to back this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was
Yeah.
one of the games I like just glanced over. I was at a conference for work and they had it on in the restaurant I was eating at. And I looked up and there was like, I kid you not, like 5 fights in the last 3 minutes of the game because it was a blowout and they were just going at it for like 3 minutes though. There was like 5 or 6 fights. I thought, I know I haven't watched playoff hockey in a while, but I mean, that was.
Well, that's a normal. Listen, hockey in itself.
It was fun. Yeah.
To watch hockey in person is probably the best sport. And
Well, that's what I loved here is when the Coyotes played here. I went to a few games and it was a blast. Well, thanks to you, I was able to. We took our family to the game and they loved it. They talked about it for months, and
it was great. And again, there was nobody who was more of a fan of the Coyotes than our whole staff.
Yeah.
Everyone loved the Coyotes. We knew some of the team members, the guys, the managers. But when you don't have that support from the top, what are they going to do? They're just every day it's an uphill battle.
Well, and is it like you said, a new ownership now in Utah, right? So the current ownership that you had to deal with
they're gone.
Yeah, that's such a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible what leadership does in companies. We always talk about it. We always hear about it. And some people think this word leadership is cliche at times. And it's like, oh yeah, no, but it matters. Like that's a perfect example of like, okay, terrible situation. You could have corrected the ship. You could have done so many things. But instead they didn't. They stuck to their guns, and now team up in Utah is going to start to thrive because of the right leadership and ownership. And what are they, the Yetis? I think it's kind of cool.
No,
is it
the
Yetis?
Yetis?
I think is it the Utah Yetis now or something?
Working on something.
Yeah,
but I mean, listen,
it's
leadership, but it's also that under the proper leadership, it's an understanding of your position in the industry and what the industry is.
Yeah,
because that's how you adapt to things. That's how you make it work. That's where your contacts come from.
Yeah.
You may look at someone, why are they successful? What can I copy from them that's going to work for me? Or who can I call that's going to give me some advice? And I think that's a big part of operating any business. You got to be able to interact with folks in your business.
Yeah.
That's how you make it better.
Yeah. Well, your staff was one of the best to work with. I know.
Thanks.
Like in Rotary, you guys rolled out the red carpet. We had a huge chili cook-off fundraiser. I mean, I met your staff, and great people. Like what you had brewing over there was incredible. And
and that's what we always focused on, and my theory has always been of late, right? I've been around a while, but it's we hire adults. I don't need the drama. We don't need that. I want an adult who understands work, what it takes to work, and being a partner, and we'll solve everything you got.
Yeah.
Any issue you have, we'll work on solving it.
Yep.
But I need someone who will do that and not create more issues.
Yep.
Well,
I guess that's a fun note to end on. Hire adults.
Adults.
That's how you transform your company. Dale Adams, hire adults.
Hire adults with good attitudes.
Entertainment extraordinaire. Thanks for coming on the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks.